So what I did was I mounted the angled stock onto a pipe holder that I got with my circular saw. So it's like a groove, a triangulated groove where the angled bracket kind of sits nicely. It's not an exact match, but it does provide some provisioning to hold it down a little bit. And I use this clamp to hold it down, and then I'm drilling holes. So I have a center point of 6 inches, and then I have 2 holes on either side of the center hole for the studs to go in. So I just completed one of these. I got 11 more to go. So let me get that done, and then we'll come back and do the placing of the studs, and then we'll get that welded. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so here's the first one completed with the 6 holes. I tried to keep it along the seam, the center seam, as much as I could, but a couple of these holes went sideways a little bit. But I'll do a better job with the next few ones here. But this is my first one, so we'll see. But again, we're not shooting for exact machined perfection, right? So perhaps the imperfections like these might be beneficial to the overall functionality of the product, but maybe I'm making up reasons for misaligned holes here. But anyways, we'll come back and I'll show you when all of the other angled stock is completed for the studs. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so I have completed drilling the holes for the studs like we discussed earlier. Here's an example of how it goes in, like so. So seems to be working pretty good, and so some of them are slightly, but anyway, so here it seems to be working pretty good. Here's another example of how it looks. Maybe a little bit under. So let's take a look at the other side of the. It fits in like so. So my next step is to take the frames, arrange them, space them, arrange them, and do some spot welding. And once I get it all aligned and everything else, I'll go ahead and weld everything together. I will then start popping these studs into these holes, and we'll be welding those in place. Once we do that, I think our majority of the project is complete. If I were to time, put an amount of time it took to create all of these parts together, this drilling holes for these studs took the longest time for me. I think it took me, again, I don't have any professional drill machine. I use that one over there, and it works pretty good for now, for what I'm trying to do at least. So it took me about, whatever, 2 hours maybe. And give or take 15 minutes or so, but anyways, not too bad. All right, so let me get this all placed in and do some spot welding, and then I'll come back with another update. Okay, so here are the four sections of the tracking system, and they're not exactly leveled, as you can tell, but that shouldn't be an issue for the functionality of it. And I tried to, as I was telling you earlier when I was drilling these holes, I anticipated that we'll have situations like these where the studs or the stakes are haphazard, they're not in one plane. But that's okay. I guess this will probably help with the overall functionality, maybe. But yeah. So I got these four sections here. I noticed that one of my welds went bad, so I need to re-weld this. But overall, it turned out good. What I'll do is, once I get this welded, I will assemble this thing together, give it a quick test, and then I will then need to go back in and then grind off any excess, the leftover of the weld. And then once that's completed, I want to give it a quick acetone cleanup, and then I'll get into the, like we talked about earlier, I'll get into the painting using this rattle can. All right, with that, let me get this thing welded, and then I'll go into the next steps. I'll be right back. Okay, so I just sanded it off with some rough edges and such, and now it's ready to be assembled. And then once that's done, I'm going to start the painting. So it looks like they fit really nicely as designed, or per design, and as expected. But yeah, well, the weldings are not the greatest in the world, so this will not be running for the world's contest for sure. But those are definitely in there, and looks good overall. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so I got this thing fully assembled, and as you can tell, well, when you deploy it, we're not going to deploy it this side up, obviously. But just to give you an idea, this is very flexible in the sense if you need to deploy this in an uneven surface reasonably, I think this should work really well. And also, for us to carry this, you can dismantle this and put this whole setup in a bag, like in a Husky workshop bag. Throw that in the back of your Jeep. You're all set to go. Now, an additional idea is if, let's suppose you need two of these, just smaller, you can, dismantle this and you have two of these available. If in case you don't have two full length, you can break this into half and use them for emergency purposes. So overall, it's looking pretty good. Let me turn this around and let me show you how it looks. It works pretty good. So overall, I'm very pleased with how this turned out to be. I just need to get this painted with my favorite engine red color, and we should be all set to go, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's my quick mock-up area for me to paint. Just a quick makeshift painting area, because I just can't paint outside. It's really cold, and it's not a good time to take it outside for painting because it would never settle or dry. Anyway, so it's in my workshop here, and kind of used a Harbor Freight tarp and used some bungee cords to lay out the tarp, and ready to rock and roll. All right, I'll be right back. Here's the first coat, and I'll come back, let it dry for about half hour or so, come back for another coat. Here's the completed product. Thanks for watching. We'll talk soon.